Almost everything we do today, it runs on code. The way we work, the way we live, our entire world is built on this invisible digital foundation. But here's the thing, that foundation is a battleground. It's the front line of a silent, relentless war. A war fought not with bullets, but with bits and bytes. Not in trenches, but in lines of code. And in this invisible war, the stakes, well, they're higher than you can possibly imagine.
Yeah, this isn't just about someone stealing your credit card number. This is about protecting human lives. Seriously, think about a hospital. Its network isn't just a bunch of desktop computers. It's the IV pumps, the heart monitors, even the pacemakers inside of patients. They're all connected. One tiny flaw, one single vulnerability, and that device designed to save a life could be turned into a weapon. The stakes really couldn't be any higher. So that brings us to the real question, doesn't it? We have millions, maybe billions, of new lines of code being written every single day. But who's actually at the keyboard? And maybe more importantly, are they building digital fortresses? Or are they accidentally leaving the front door wide open for an attack? Because the first front in this war, the first place we have to look, it isn't a piece of technology at all. It's human. It's all about the people tapping away at those keyboards, the developers, who are supposed to be our very first line of defense. And this quote from researcher Wisdom Umeugo just hits the nail on the head. We're asking developers who are brilliant at building amazing things to also be world-class security experts, but we're often not giving them the right training or tools for the job. The responsibility for security ends up falling right on their shoulders, but they haven't been set up for success. So what's going on here? Why the disconnect? Well, research shows that developers can be, quote, am-motivated when it comes to security. But it's not because they don't care. It's because the system they work in is pushing them to build new features fast. Security can feel like a speed bump. Maybe they don't have the training, or they're left out of the big security conversations. Or sometimes it's just human nature to think, it'll never happen to us. All right, so the human element is a huge piece of this puzzle, but that's only one side of the coin. Now let's talk about the technical side, because our developers aren't just trying to prevent simple bugs. They are up against really smart adversaries who are operating on a battlefield that is constantly changing. You see, a real cyber attack isn't a single event. It's more like a military campaign, and attackers literally follow a playbook. It all starts with getting that initial access, finding one unlocked digital window to crawl through. Next, they use exploits to evade defenses, basically becoming invisible. From there, they escalate their privileges, turning a low-level key into a master key. Then they move laterally, spreading silently through the network to find the most valuable targets. And finally, boom, the impact, stealing data, shutting things down, or worse. So how on earth do you defend against that? Well, the number one rule of defense is you have to know what you're defending. You need a complete list, a total inventory of every single thing on your network, every server, every laptop, every single piece of software. If you don't have that, you're basically defending your house with a blindfold on. And in today's crazy complex networks, getting that complete picture is a massive, massive challenge. Now, this table kind of shows how we've tried to tackle this problem over the years. You can see the old school methods like a manual spreadsheet or even network scanners. They just don't give you the full picture. They always miss something. But look at that last row, event correlation. This is the game changer. Instead of just looking for devices, this approach automatically connects the dots between thousands of digital events happening all over the network, a login over here, a file transfer over there, and it builds a complete real-time map of everything. It's the only way to get that high-level, full coverage you need. Okay, so knowing what you have is step one. But to really fight back against attackers using super sophisticated code, well, you have to fight code with code. And this is where artificial intelligence enters the war. I want you to meet ATTK-Link. This thing is an AI model that does something that sounds like science fiction. It can actually read the source code of a hacker's tool, and just by analyzing that code, it can predict which tactic from the attacker's playbook it's designed to carry out. This means defenders can stop just reacting to attacks and start predicting what the attacker's going to do next. And this isn't just a cool theory. The numbers back it up. I mean, look at this. When you compare ATT-Link to other really advanced AI models, it's not even close. The key number here is the F1 score. That basically measures how precise and reliable a model is. And at over 88%, ATT-Link is just way, way more accurate at figuring out what a piece of malicious code is up to. That is a massive advantage. All right, so AI models, F1 scores, it can all feel a little abstract. Let's bring it back down to earth.
Let's go back to that connected pacemaker we were talking about. How does this kind of tech actually help protect a person?
So, researchers tested a couple of different machine learning models to see if they could spot an attack on a pacemaker. Now, at first glance, both models look pretty good at finding threats, right? They're both around 87%. But the number that really matters here is false negatives. That's the stuff the AI missed, the real attacks that slipped through. One model missed almost 8% of attacks, but the other got it down to about 5.5%. When a single missed threat could have catastrophic consequences, that tiny 2.3% difference is absolutely everything. So even with the best AI in the world, we can't just be on defense all the time. The ultimate solution isn't just about catching attacks faster, it's about building our systems in a way that makes them secure from the very beginning. We have to completely change our mindset. For decades, the old way was reactive. You wait for something to break, then you scramble to fix the hole. Security was this expensive thing you added on at the end. The new way? It's completely proactive. It's about anticipating threats, making security the default setting, and making privacy automatic. And this whole philosophy, it has a name, Privacy by Design, or PBD. It's a framework built on a really simple but powerful idea. Privacy and security aren't just features. They have to be embedded into the DNA of a project from day one, from the very first business meeting, from the very first line of code. And PPD is guided by these 7 core principles you see here. It's all about being proactive, not reactive. Making strong privacy the default so you don't have to go digging around in the settings to find it. And, crucially, it's about making sure security and functionality work together, not against each other, all while putting the user's privacy first. So we have better trained people, we have smarter technology, and we have this proactive design philosophy. But how do we tie it all together? How do we make sure everyone is playing by the same rules and building to the same high standard? Well, for that, you need a rulebook. Think of it like this. When you build a skyscraper, you don't just let every construction crew do whatever they want. There's a building code to make sure it's safe. In the world of cybersecurity, the industry turns to NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. NIST provides that master plan, that building code for the digital world. And when I say this framework is comprehensive, I am not exaggerating. The main standard that everyone uses for security and privacy is broken down into 20, that's 20, different families of controls, 20 different categories that cover every possible angle of securing a system. And this slide just gives you a little taste. You've got the basics you'd expect, right? Like access control, who can see what, and incident response, what to do when things go wrong. But it goes so much deeper, into things like personnel security and even supply chain risk management. That's about making sure the software you're buying hasn't already been hacked before you even install it. It is truly the gold standard for a reason. Okay, so where does all this leave us? We've just taken a whirlwind tour of a very complex and invisible battlefield, but a few really clear themes have emerged. If we're going to win this invisible war, we have to be fighting on 3 fronts all at once. First is people. We have to empower our developers with the training and the tools they need to be our first line of defense. Second is process. We have to switch from being reactive to being proactive, baking security in from the start. And third is technology. We have to keep innovating with things like AI to stay one step ahead of the bad guys. Ultimately, it all boils down to a pretty simple choice. In this world that we have built, a world that runs entirely on code, what role are we going to play? Are we going to be the architects who thoughtfully and carefully build security into the very foundation of everything we do? Or are we going to be the archaeologists, always showing up after the disaster, just digging through the ruins of the latest breach to figure out what went wrong? The choice is ours.